Welcome to the Head Shepherd podcast. I'm your host, Mark Ferguson, CEO here at NextGen Agri International, where we help livestock managers get the best out of their stock. Before we get started, thank you to our two fantastic sponsors for continuing to sponsor this podcast. MSD Animal Health is perhaps better known as Cooper's Animal Health in Australia and for their Allflex range across the world, with a comprehensive suite of animal health and management products. Honega is a one-stop shop for wool harvesting and animal fibre removal. The Honega team have a deep understanding of livestock agriculture, backed by Swiss engineering and a family business dedicated to manufacturing the best. We are grateful to our sponsors for their support, helping us bring Head Shepherd to you each week. And now it's time to get on with this week's episode. Welcome back to Head Shepherd. You're Ferg. Great to have you listening along. This week on the show, we feature Vicky Alexandru from Woven Optics. Woven Optics is a company that Vicky and her co-founder started to do in-shed measurement of Micron and related fibre measurement. It's a great little product that's started up. We'll get to that in just a moment. Before we get to that, this week we have another article going out. We've dropped back to fortnightly articles, you might have noticed. This one going out from Amy Lockwood. This one's on predicting reproductive performance. It's using the lifetime productivity project as an example, but yeah, how we early indicators of reproductive success, I guess, is an article that Amy has written. I also wanted to mention that the Xander McDonald Award is opening up for the 2026 competition or awards, and we'd love to have as many entrants, both Australia and New Zealand. People are welcome to apply across all range of aspects of agriculture. That's open on the 1st of October and then close on the 31st of October. So if you know somebody out there that you think is doing a great thing that's under 35 in ag and is doing great things, make sure you tap them on the shoulder and suggest they apply for the award. Give me a call. I'm happy to talk through what that might look like. It is a great thing. It's a great award, really having a great impact on ag and fantastic to see these young people recognised for all the great work we're doing. So, yeah, if you're one of those young people or if you know some of them, make sure you get your application in. You can go to the Xander McDonald Award website and find all the details there, or give any of the people you'll see featured on that website a call to learn a bit more. It's great to see the downloads flying out the door for our Rambuyers guides. We've now got 3 Rambuyer guides out there: Fine Wool Australia, Fine Wool New Zealand, and now the latest one, which is Terminals and Maternals in New Zealand. So, we've had a great heap of downloads this week. That hard copies are available as well, so jump on the website and either download your copy or order your hard copy, or run into any of our team anywhere you come across them, and they'll make sure they get a copy to you. Righto, we'll get underway with this week's show with Vicky Alexandru. Welcome, Vicky, to Head Shepherd.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you along. It's a company I've been watching for a while, so we're here to talk Woven Optics. Before we get fully into that product, maybe just a bit of your background, how you, I guess, your career to date, and maybe how you ended up starting a company looking at to measure wool fibres.
Yeah, it is a bit of an interesting journey for us, and I think I love sharing the story simply because it's a little bit unorthodox, given a lot of other companies and people who have a strong ag background that come into this sort of space. So by training, I'm a neuroscientist by training, so my background and my co-founder's background, Ben, is in medical research. So I worked in the university sector for about 21 years, trained as a research, mainly around sort of scientific vigor, spent a lot of time looking down microscopes and doing a lot of microscopy work as part of my sort of background. And about 2017, I want to say, or 2018, I'm starting to lose the dates. I have to just confirm that. Sorry. Ben and I were undertaking an entrepreneurship program that was run by the University of Adelaide at the time. The idea was for us to learn how to commercialize research, things that we have developed and worked up in the laboratory that we could then apply to provide benefit back into society, for example. And these courses that are run by the university entrepreneurship sort of faculty are often sponsored by different industries. And the one that we had enrolled in happened to be sponsored by AWI at the time. And partway through our course, we were approached by the liaison person, and that was, I guess, listening to us talk throughout the weeks that were leading up to it, and asked us how we thought we could use our sort of research skills to help solve problems in the ag tech industry, or the ag industry rather. And then we posed the question, of course, is what he thought was one of the biggest issues at the time that we could offer some support. And he came back with sort of subjective measuring of what Micron on farm, so done by touch and feel. And so we proposed an idea, doing what we do, and said, why don't you capture some images along the staple and apply, automatic assessment or measurements, then that you could get a real-time result. Having no background in engineering or, understanding about how it would actually go about building this, but understanding conceptually how, knowing which people to talk to and approach to be able to actually resolve this quite quickly. And he said, if you can, pull that off, I think you'll get a lot of sort of support from the industry in order to, build something that they could use. So we spent the first couple of years, finding the right people to talk to and do a proof of concept. And more importantly, I think talking to a lot of the key stakeholders within the wool industry to gain a real understanding of how much of a problem it was. Is it actually a problem worth pursuing and investing time and money into, or is there other ways in which they're currently managing it? And I think we had enough, positive support to say that, yes, this is something that would definitely, help producers or buyers to be able to, make a better assessment on farm when required, because of the fact that you can look at the most recent growth as well. So you're not looking at historical data. And so we set about building a team around us, doing the validation work, doing proof of principles, and then set about to, raise the funds in order to be able to conceptualize and make the prototype, because we decided to step out of the university sector. So it wasn't that they were coming to us as university researchers within the university space, but we found an opportunity to sort of step sideways out of the university and become independent, but still apply the skills that we had in that training in order to build the product that we have today. So with partnership through Heinegger and support through state government's funding, we have been able over the last 8 years to build the hardware, validate the software, and have gotten to a point now that we have, recently launched our product in order to get that, to get more broader feedback and be able to deliver that, technology to the wool industry.
Yeah, cool. Quite the journey. And obviously these, I'm always fascinated by sliding door moments, and that's definitely sounds like one of them. Yeah,
absolutely.
All of a sudden, life takes a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe just let's talk through the technology, what it does, and I think most people listening will be well aware of the need or desire to measure fibre diameter, or micron as we often refer to it, to meet specs for processes, and obviously to make breeding decisions and a whole heap of things. So maybe just talk us through how the approach is and how it differs from maybe our usual measurements of that attribute.
Well, as I said earlier, because our background was very much in microscopy, which means like using laboratory microscopes in order to do measurements and capture images. We didn't appreciate at the time, which we understood in our learning, that a lot of the calibrated samples that laboratories rely on in order to calibrate their equipment around the world actually stems from projection microscope. And so effectively we went and, thought we can do this in the lab very, easily. We were able to reproduce the data in a laboratory setting. Can we just take that and miniaturize it into a handheld unit? So effectively what we've done is we've created a handheld microscope that takes high resolution images. And the idea was to be able to do that along the length of a staple when you're doing a side sampling or a pin bone sample. So you're capturing images along the length of the staple, or you can do, across the animal if you want to look at a whole fleece, and you can do multiple samples. And you can select how many images you want to include in each of your tests to ensure that you've captured enough data and enough of that sample. To then have those images, within a couple of seconds analyzed, and then the device displays the mean fibre diameter, standard deviation, coefficient of variance, and comfort factor all within a couple of seconds. So from a decision-making opportunity, you're able to also scan the ear tag of that animal and pair that data immediately. So if you're doing it in a race or during shearing, you have that opportunity to not lose that information and, make decisions, on the go, when it's required for that business. And so, we've gone ahead and built that. It's, also has a lot of computing power in order to have the accuracy that we're, trying to achieve, and the end user needs to achieve. And of course, there's the training required around the methodology of it, because you are taking that sample out of the laboratory now and needing to be able to reproduce that well and get, good data on farm.
Excellent. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about technique, but before we do that, what's the feedback been like? I know you've been out and about giving this a crack in shearing sheds and sheep yards.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's I think what I didn't appreciate, of course, not coming from a farming background myself, is the diversity in which people manage their businesses and their wool businesses as well. And of course, it's dependent upon size. It's dependent upon their average micron. Also, if they're a pure commercial grower or a stud breeder, they're going to have I guess a different set of expectations and requirements for managing their business. And so the feedback overall, I've been quite chuffed at how it's been overall positive. Everything obviously comes with a caveat. There's, depending on people's background and their understanding of the testing, there is always going to be some caution, around doing things and making sure that the processes are done properly. And so we've set about calibrating our equipment to ensure that the device does what the device is intended to do, and it does that really well. And so we're pretty happy with the device's ability to measure what it sees. It will always come down to sample preparation and what you present to the sample and how you present it. And so that's been a big part of our learning of, improving the way in which we prepare that sample to make that process faster. We focused on getting the device accurate and fast in itself, which has been great, but the preparation and the presentation is something that we need to work on. That's been told to us is, an important factor in some of the decision making around whether or not they would use it. In terms of how also the frequency in which people tend to do their testing at the moment with current practice, whether they do that themselves or whether they expect someone else to come in and provide a service for them. So we've learned an incredible amount very fast, and that sort of helps lend to our priorities in terms of what are the next steps for improvement and to be able to ensure that people are able to get the best use out of it on farm. But it's been overwhelmingly positive so far, which has been fantastic.
Yeah, I know that. Well, my first job out of uni, I reckon, was running around with up to 2,000 measuring fibre diameter in shearing sheds, and
Yeah,
it's always been, obviously a pretty similar concept using cameras to digital microscopes to measure stuff. But obviously, we've had a few giant leaps in technology in the last whatever that is. That's nearly 30 years, 25 years, and so I'm assuming there's some sort of AI involved in interpreting an image and turning it into a number?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the biggest part of our learning and teaching is understanding what that means and what that looks like and why we can't do things a little bit differently, where people have asked us, can't you just capture a picture on the phone? And I said, look, I'd love to. That's where we started. That was our, the idea initially. But you very quickly learn when you talk to software engineers and computer image specialists in AI that the quality of the image and how it's presented to the data is the thing that determines the output. And because one of the things that we learned early on was where other systems had failed for on-farm testing in the past, speaking to people, it was that they didn't trust the data because it wasn't accurate enough. So we were able to apply our scientific vigor to say, okay, how would we do this in a laboratory? Can we reproduce that in such a way that is easy to do on farm? And what are the limitations around that? So our main focus has been initially around accuracy, developing a system that is accurate. And that very much lent to controlling the environment in which you capture that information and capture that data, which is why we've designed the system the way we've designed it.
So in terms of sample prep, is it going through isopropyl alcohol, or is it just straight raw? Or?
So that's what we recommend. So we recommend degreasing the sample because of the way the AI identifies the fibre and then finds the fibre's edges and measures across it. So you're getting actual real measurements. It's not just a pseudo calibration of some sort or correlation. It's an actual, looking at measurements and then running the stats for those multiple measurements. Obviously, if there's grease on the edge of the fibre, it's going to broaden those results. But there's ways and means around that to understand what that looks like and apply, I guess, a filter of some sort, in terms of if you want to increase the throughput and you don't want to decrease it with isopropanol, which we always recommend because it's either you're having to clean the sample stage or you're cleaning the sample. It's either or in terms of presentation. But it also depends on, and what I didn't appreciate coming from South Australia, a lot of the samples we've handled in the past actually quite greasy. Going up sort of the East Coast up north, I came across a lot more drier samples. And when we've ran some, initial tests coming through, they're like talking about a 0.3 or 0.2 micron difference from dry to greasy, greasy to a clean sample, which is just, spraying it with some isopropanol and just removing any excess grease. And so these are definitely things that we have learnt, and that will definitely impact what those results look like, or more so how you go about managing the system and ensuring that you have a clear understanding about what that outcome looks like, depending on the method you apply for yourself as well.
Yeah, for sure. And again, brings back plenty of memories.
Yeah.
In terms of sample, I guess, speed and what that sort of workflow looks like. So are you sharing shed size, like sort of wool table, or you're out in the yards taking mid-side samples, or you've been in all those positions depending on what the use case is at the time?
Exactly to that point. So we've tried doing it in a race. We have tried doing it in a shed. We've just tried doing it at home with samples that have been collected and put in a bag with a label on it. And if there was any sort of learning curve that is applied to the actual technology itself, it would come to the sample preparation. We've come to appreciate, repeatedly being told and seeing that for ourselves, that it is definitely something that takes a little bit of time to become used to the dexterity around preparing that sample, so that you can see those individual fibres, that you can separate them out well, and to be able to present, the better that sample is prepared ahead of time, then the faster the workflow becomes in terms of imaging along the length of it. And we've established a protocol, but that protocol requires a level of dexterity that people then have to take on board when they're doing some training. And those who have done it themselves so far, it's either been, I sat down with it for half a day and practiced until I was happy with it and I got it, and that's great. Whereas others are like, that's not something that I'd ever sit down to do, and that would slow the process down. So we're definitely cognizant of that is something that we need to improve upon. And it will change for some people when they're using it, in terms of, do they side sample a week before or, a month before and do that and have the data preloaded? Or are they able to do it if they're doing, we've established, I guess, roughly if you have a four stand shearing shed, unless you're able to keep up, if you do the recommended, 3 images clean. But again, that requires, some training ahead of time to be comfortable with that preparation. In a race, I guess it would come down to, if you're trying to do it on an animal, it becomes a 2-person job because someone needs to hold the animal, so that you can then separate out those fibers on the mid side. Or you can just take a sample off the animal, tease it apart, take the image, and then move across to the next one. There's different ways to be able to cut it. But I think ultimately at the end of the day, that sample preparation is something that we're definitely working on to be able to improve and make sure people have a better experience at using it, and a faster and a more concise experience.
Excellent. The 3 per staple, that's to get enough fibre count, or just to represent the full staple properly?
It's to ensure that you. We published some work with the International Wool Textile Organization, IWTO Congress last year, whereby we tested calibration samples according to IWTO methodology, which is effectively the methodology that they use to calibrate equipment using the calibration samples that are supplied annually. And what we found was that if we took 3 images along the length of the stable, we were able to get comparative results with laser scan for 1,000 counts. So the 3 images ensures that you have enough fibers presented to the image to ensure that you're getting a good representation along the length. Now, obviously, there's going to be caveats to that, and that's part of our learning, and that's part of the sort of the education package that we're putting together to let people make sure that they're aware that there's limits to that with everything, and knowing what those limits are, so that they are still, the outcome of that data is as accurate as possible, is important for us.
Excellent. So obviously a fair journey. How far down that commercialisation line are we? Are they sort of available now or available soon? Or
they're available now. So we have a limited release this year for the first lot of units, and so they are available now as we speak. And we're getting a lot of interest. We've had some amazing conversations with people who've already purchased them, and just making sure that they're being onboarded appropriately. They have all the information that they need. The system is performing as it should, and just excited to see what that feedback is once they've had an opportunity to use it themselves in earnest, and then come back to us with any suggestions or feedback. So it's been really exciting to see it out there and see it be used, and hearing people's ideas and thoughts around it, and what some of the limitations are. And if we don't get that feedback, then we can't improve upon what we have. So that's been critical to our learning and our journey in terms of moving forward and what we prioritize to ensure that people get the best use out of it, and what the data that they're getting is what they need to see.
Yeah, for sure. I'm imagining releasing those first few units as like sending your first kid to school or something. It'd be a sort of nervous couple of days.
100%, especially because we've been taking, it's taken us this long to develop, and a lot of that focus had been around ensuring that the hardware and the software could work together, that the hardware was, in such a way that was easy to use. And I imagine that, 10 years from now, that it's going to look somewhat different to what it is today. And interestingly, our naivety of not being, rural focused people, and you're thinking, we can just, everything is so cloud-based, and everyone in the city gets so excited about building ag tech that can talk to the cloud, and you get out there and you're like, I can build this so easily, and you do, and you go out and test it and find out very quickly that all falls down. And so we're hoping with the rollout, with improvement around connectivity on farm, which I think needs to be a priority, and it's sounding like it is starting to become a priority for certain industry sectors such as Telstra and government, to ensure that the farming community and the primary producers can run their farms effectively and take opportunity, or benefit from all of the new technology that's coming out that will allow them to capture more data in terms of on their farm, and use that data to improve upon their business. And so it's been what is it, baptism by fire, which has been great.
Yeah, there's nothing like standing on one leg trying to get 1 bar of 3G to send a text or something. We've driven animals on top of a hill just to get signal on a site that said they had 4G towers, and I'm like, that's not going to work, and not for the speed that we want it to be. But hopefully in the future that will change and dramatically we can go back to what we had originally had conceptualized, which would just be the handheld unit on its own. Yeah, okay. So now at the moment, obviously you're having to run AI at the edge, are you? So you're running on
So we have an edge device and a battery pack that powers the two of them. So it comes in a pretty cool backpack that's easy to wear and move around in. And so I guess it's in terms of product, in terms of production and manufacturing, that's probably had the biggest impact.
Yeah.
It's meant that we can then build a device that can do a lot more than what we had originally designed for it to do, because it has that computing power on board. So it's a bit of a 6 one way, half a dozen another. It can benefit some things, but it'd be incumbent in other things. But definitely we're interested to see where the future lies in this technology as well.
Yeah, so I guess, once Elon has his way and the Starlink everywhere, that you can be back to like cloud-based processing.
We hope it's not as straightforward as what we had hoped it would be. I think one of the downfalls of trying to ensure a high level of accuracy is that data packages are extremely large, which doesn't always align well with some of the limitations around what the satellite enables us to be able to push up and pull down quite easily, especially at the speed in which we're talking about. We're 2 to 3 seconds to get results versus if you start adding time that it takes 20 seconds to a minute per result, then you're doubling the rate at which the system can be used. And so it's like, if it slows it down too much, then that becomes a problem in itself. So we're trying to sort of find what the happy medium is around that as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess we sort of play a little bit in this space, and what I'm always conscious of is you kind of solve based on one set of technology, and then by the time you've solved that, technology is improved by some factor of a couple anyway. And so, it's always hard to know when you say, righto, today's the day we decide that this is the tech we're going to roll out and not wait for the next iteration. But that's always the challenge. In your journey from lab to shearing shed, I'm imagining, I think part of the challenge in ag tech is just people who being aware of what's possible, I suppose. I imagine you're getting plenty of ideas as you sort of get in totally engaged in ag and seeing what you've been able to achieve with this product. I'm a big fan of the future of cameras and AI working together to solve lots of problems in ag without giving me any great ideas. Have you what do you see as the future, I guess, in AI and ag? Is there more to come?
Oh, absolutely. You can't switch the research brain off, even if you step out of the university sector, yeah. It's always there. And I'm very guilty and have to be mindful of getting super excited when people come to me saying, can you do this? Can you do that? And my mind's always thinking of, yeah, can we actually do it? And so there's definitely, I think I guess the lowest hanging fruit for us is that because we have the capabilities for software development in-house, it means that we can take those sets of images that people are currently uploading and using to capture that data. We can use that to then find other features retrospectively and then add other, I guess, measurements that would be either known measurements or even new and unknown measurements. So there's so many different ways in which we can take this forward into sort of other spaces from, the animal welfare is one, looking at other breeding parameters in the fibre, characteristics in the fibre that can, qualify a different set of information for breeding factors is another one. And so we've kind of created a pipeline of future features that we can look at to explore once we have all of this sort of wrapped up and settled and, understand how to sort of present the current system and let anything that comes out of that settle, and then we can then start to move on and look at other aspects and develop other external features or internal features or auxiliary features, whether it's part of the current software design and using the images as they are, or whether it's adding on other sort of auxiliary systems that you can plug in that allows you to measure other aspects. But there's definitely, there's so many conversations, even just up until last week, that I've had that I'm like, oh, I want to see if we can do that. But then I have to sort of calm down, get this out and get it, making sure that it's the rollout is as smooth as possible and we learn fast and iterate fast to ensure that people are getting the best experience out of it, and we're learning and applying that learning as quickly as possible to the current system, and then start moving forward to what are those next steps look like. But no, absolutely, there's a lot of different things that we can do.
Yeah, no, I'm hearing you. I'm definitely guilty of coming up with lots of ideas, and never having time to get them all sorted. But it's a massive space coming forward as we get better and better with the data and image capture.
Absolutely.
The business model. So, do I lease a machine and pay per image, or what do people what does it look like?
At the moment, initially, the business model is that we sell the unit with the testing and subscription attached. And I know that subscription in ag can be a bit of a dirty word sometimes, and I can fully appreciate why. From a technology point of view, and especially when you're using the cloud to store and generate data, that's probably one of the main reasons that we have that subscription model, because it allows us to apply servicing, technical support, software updates, housing and storing all of that data on the cloud to make it accessible for the end user, and to also be able to view that in different ways and do more and add more features to it in the future. And so it's a model by which we sell the system. It comes with a first year subscription, and then people can then just purchase an ongoing subscription that at the moment is set at 10,000 tests. So if you take just the tests alone for that package, it works out to be about 10 cents a test. If you include the cost of the unit over 5 years with the subscription, 5 years worth of subscription, it's about 38 cents a test over the lifetime, not the lifetime, but over a 5-year period, I should say rather. And so what we're seeing is we did that initially to see who would be, purchasing. However, we're seeing a lot of wool handlers, brokers, service providers, contractors that are looking at purchasing a system so that they can service their clients. So if there's people who producers, for example, who find that it doesn't make economical sense for them to purchase a unit for themselves because they don't test enough currently to justify the cost, we're seeing either they're looking to their contractors, or if they're part of a syndicate, for example, or a co-op group, we're seeing co-op groups look at, sharing the cost of the technology, and then they're able to share the cost of the testing as well, because multiple people then can use it. So that's currently where we sit, especially within Australia. That's currently how we sit. Whether that changes in the future based on how people are, looking to use it, I wouldn't be able to predict, but that's the model that we have currently. And so we're encouraging, various people within the industry to purchase it and how they use it. We just want to see people using it and learning as much as we can, and to see how people use it and how they benefit from it.
Excellent. So before I forget, if people are interested, what's the best way to find out more, or jump on a website? Or
yeah, so there's the best way is if you because we've proudly partnered with Heiniger Australia. So Heiniger sales team all have a unit so that they can come and do demos. I would look to see through the Heiniger website. I think it's /Woven Optics, but don't quote me. We can put it in any show notes that you might have. Otherwise, the Woven Optics, so just wovenoptics.com. Would have all of the product and page information, any sort of business case or value proposition that we've put together. There's a couple more that will be uploaded as well, just to give people an understanding about how they can benefit their business by using it, where they can save, where they can increase revenue. They're the best. So if you have a relationship with Heiniger, also in New Zealand as well. So there is a unit in New Zealand. There's a unit in New Zealand and in Australia at the moment. And I think UK have got one as well for a demo, but we're only selling, I think, in Australia and New Zealand shortly. Then that's the best place to go for more information, or they can just contact us, myself or Ben, directly.
Excellent. That's great. Just a couple more questions around, I guess, the journey. What have you, I guess, coming out of the research and then research life into the ag world and into the tech founder world? What's been give me a highlight and give me your key learning, maybe.
A highlight is, given that I'm not from a farming background, how much people are willing to share what they know and their knowledge in order to help us get to where we were. We were very focused initially on making sure that we've partnered with the industry intimately to find out as much as we can, and listen as much as we can to make something that they want and that they will use, rather than coming from an aspect of, going away into a corner, building something and then coming back and say, is this it? So it's been working closely with the industry has been fantastic. And I have, Ben and I have learned so much and how, what is the word? Industrious and research focused a lot of growers are themselves. We would have a conversation with a few people from say one sector, thinking that we have a good grasp on things. We then turn around and talk to someone else who might be running a slightly different type of business, whether it's going from stud producers to commercial to ultra fine, to your mixed farming, and then thinking that we understand what the problem is. We go and say, so you would use it like this, and they're like, no. So what's a problem for one? It's not a problem for someone else. And so really learning to listen and understand where, how that workflow works and how it varies has helped us to understand, okay, well, you can use it to do this and that will help you. And you can use it in this way to do this and that will help you. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the same across the board. And so, it's been fantastic just having the conversations and just meeting so many incredible people, especially sort of out of my space, in terms of research. But I think that's probably been the biggest, for me, the most exciting part.
Yeah, cool. This is maybe a semi-related question, the one we ask every guest, and it's not that easy off the cuff like I'm about to do it, but what's the last thing you changed your mind about?
Oh, that is a great question. What is the last thing I changed my mind about? Oh, wow. Oh, I honestly, it is a tough one. Yeah. I think I'm always trying to not be too attached to ideas, I guess. The thing that I changed my mind about, I wouldn't be able to tell you at the moment. I think I do that as often as necessary. Yeah, I try not to be married to too many ideas. I think it's great to sort of start on a journey, but if you're proven wrong pretty quickly, you have to rethink on how you do things. I guess in terms of the biggest thing I guess I changed my mind on is, I don't know. I honestly wouldn't be able to tell you right now, to give you an honest answer.
No, that's all good. It's a tough one without giving you a warning.
That's all good. We'll come back to it if I think of something.
Yeah. And another one without warning, which is a little bit easier, but is who's the best person you've had the opportunity to learn from?
Oh, I don't think I can't put it down to one person,
No, you
honestly.
can give me a few. I
I
had
can give you a
6.
few. I had, all right, learning from, so our board members, that have come on board. So, we've got, I guess, Tom Ashby, who's a 4th generation ram merino breeder. Gary Lyons, who's been, and Dale Harrison and the team at Heiniger, just getting their insights has been incredible. Learning from my co-founder and our business development, who's been a mentor, who's now on board as a director, Hugo Lemessurier. They just have been incredible and have, a slightly different lens. But I think altogether, there's something that you can take away every time we have conversations. The farmers themselves, the people within the industry themselves, especially those who are seasoned. We've had a lot of conversations early on from people that, they started as rouseabouts at the age of 15 and in their 80s. We're having conversations and just understanding what's changed in their time frame, and how to sort of approach the industry. I guess it's fantastic to see, and it's humbling to see how relationship focused this industry is, in terms of, coming as an outsider, coming as a company that wants to establish something. Their filter for BS is, quite low, and so they'll tell you in a heartbeat if they think something is not right, and I love that. Believe it or not, I do love that, because I would rather someone tell me that and then I can fix and improve upon what I'm doing, rather than say, oh, no, we think it's great. And then they walk away and then they never do anything with it. And then you don't know why. So you can't make it better. And so those relationships throughout, have been incredible, and have helped us learn as much as what we have. So that would be the biggest, I think.
Excellent. Is there anything else you want to talk about the product that we've missed?
I think if people are curious, talk to other people who've seen it. Talk to your Heiniger local reps. They're quite knowledgeable and have the product, and if you can't get them one-on-one, obviously they're always at field days. If you want to see the product, then I suggest get a group of neighbours around who might be interested, and get them to come out and to talk to you or talk to us. We are looking, that feedback is critical for us to ensure that we build a product that has longevity in the industry. And we plan on being here for a while, and, ensuring that we're doing what's in the best interest of, the end users as well, and how they use it. And so, I think that's probably the main thing I would say.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much, Vicky. Been great to have a chat and learn a bit more about woven optics and the product. Looking forward to, I've seen it in the flesh once, but haven't had much of a play yet. So looking forward to that. But thanks very much for your time. I know you've had a bit of a rough start today, feeling a bit crook, but good to have you on, and great to hear about the product, and hopefully meet up in person soon.
Thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to come here and talk about it. And like I said, if there's any other follow-up questions, people can reach out to us directly or through their Heiniger local reps as well. Thank you for the opportunity, Mark.
Perfect. Thanks, Vicky. Thanks again to Heiniger, who are proud world leaders in the manufacturing and supply of professional sheep shearing and clipping equipment. Thank you to MNSD Animal Health and Norflex Livestock Intelligence. They offer an extensive livestock product portfolio focused on animal health management, all backed up by exceptional service. We thank both of these companies for their ongoing support of the Head Shepherd podcast.